Before I begin with this video, I just want to say most of you, especially Tamil audience, would remember one Mr. Satish from Salem who had built and ran a very successful YouTube channel going by the name RX Design Maker. It was dedicated for his passion and his work towards these RX series of motorcycles. He had unfortunately passed away due to the complications caused by the virus. I sincerely request my viewers to stay safe during these tough times. Try to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Wear good quality masks and go out only when the need arises. With that said, we shall begin with the video. Hey guys, Bratty Biker here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm sorry for the background noise. There's a lot of construction going on, so I'm using an external microphone. Again, quality is not that great, but please bear with me for this time. So as you guys saw on the clip just before the intro, this was something that I've always wanted to do on this bike. This is my 1997 Yamaha RXG. I've had it for quite a while now. So in part 1, specifically in this video, you will see the basic idea of what I want to do, the challenges or the hurdles that I face along the way, and then the parts that I buy or the tools that I use to complete this project. So here we go. To begin with, I'm upgrading to the console from a Yamaha Crux R. That bike was made from 2004 to 2008. The speciality of that console is that it had an electronic tachometer. The tachometer is locally referred here as the RPM meter. When people want a different console setup, people usually go for this one. This is a Yamaha RXZ, or famously known as the RXZ setup, where you guys can see the speedometer. There's a pilot box in the middle and there's a tachometer. But that's a different tachometer. It works in a mechanical way, so it's called as a mechanical tachometer. Whereas what I'm installing is an electronic tachometer. So do you want to know the difference between those two? Here you go. The mechanical tachometer is kind of similar like a mechanical speedometer. It is driven by a rotating wire which is inside of this cable and which is rotated by this worm. And similarly, the mechanical tachometer will be connected with a similar wire that will go and join inside of this hole, and that wire will have a bunch of gears that will be driven by the primary gear which is rotated as the engine is working, and these bunch of gears spin the wire inside the cable which the tachometer will receive, and the needle will move up or down to show the actual rotations of the crankshaft per minute. An electronic tachometer does not have too many mechanical components. It is purely electrical. So what happens is that the needle will move up and down based on the spark impulses that you find on the spark plug. So the number of sparks or the number of spark pulses in a given amount of time is how the tachometer is able to calculate and show us the RPM reading. Another reason why I went for an electronic tachometer is that the initial setting up work that needs to be done before you can install a mechanical tachometer is quite a lot, to be honest. That is, you guys can see this is your right side clutch cover. You need to get this off. You see this hole here, you have to drill it, and then you'll also have to install a bunch of gears that will be driven by the primary gear connected to the crankshaft of the engine. So when the crankshaft rotates, the primary gear rotates, and the primary gear will rotate your RPM wheel, and that you'll have to install a tachometer cable from here that goes and then connects to the tachometer itself. So all these work you have to do. So for all of this work, it requires highly experienced lathe specialists and highly experienced mechanics who has had previous experience of doing this specific exact modification before. And as most of you guys know, I'm a noob with very little knowledge but a lot of passion, enthusiasm and love for this old motorcycle. So I'm just going to do the DIY way on installing this electronic tachometer. Comparatively, setting up an electronic tachometer is very simple. It's all about wiring, literally. All you have is 3 wires. There's a positive, there's a negative, and there's a source that's needed by the tachometer. So the negative connects to the battery's negative terminal, the positive connects to the battery's positive terminal, and the source connects to either the ignition coil to sense the spark, or it can connect to the pulse wire to sense the pulse, the spark's pulse. So that's it. You don't need any special mechanics or special lathe knowledge, special tools to do this. It's all about wiring. Maximum you would need to know how to crimp, how to solder and stuff, which is very easy. You can learn yourself. A small note, do not keep the tachometer connected directly to the battery for a long time. I'll explain why later. With that aside, I proceeded to hook up the tachometer to the bike's electrical system and do a test run to check if it is functioning. and I came across a few challenges, first one being the functioning of the tachometer itself. So as you guys saw, that was a success. The bike was revving well, and the tacho was also working well. But again, it's not exactly very accurate. It's reading 2500 RPM while it should read 1500 odd RPM. So why does the tachometer show twice the readings when connected to a two-stroke engine? It's very simple. To understand this, let's first understand that that's a 4-stroke tachometer that you have connected to a two-stroke engine. Number 1. Number 2, an electronic tachometer takes the data from the amount of spark pulses in a given time and then calculates it to show the readings. So it's not directly connected to the crankshaft or the primary gear like the mechanical drive, especially the RXZ. It's simply electronic and it senses the pulse from the spark plug. And here is where the differences occur. So when you take two similarly spec'd engines, one is a 2-stroke and one is a 4-stroke. In this case, we can take this is a 135cc engine, and then we can take something like the Pulsar LS 135, also a 135cc engine, but it's a 4-stroke engine. So in both the engines, you have the crankshaft, but on a 2-stroke engine, the spark plug fires once every full rotation of the crankshaft. So one full rotation of the crankshaft, you have a spark. Another full rotation of a crankshaft, you have another spark. That's how it works. But on a 4-stroke engine, you only have one spark in between every 2 rotations of the crankshaft. So you do not have a spark on every rotation. You have a spark in between every 2 rotations of the crankshaft of a 4-stroke engine. So when you take both of these engines and let them idle at 1000 RPM, so within that minute, when you compare the spark plug firing, the spark plug on the 2-stroke within that 1 minute has fired 1000 times, but the spark plug on the 4-stroke has fired only 500 times. So 500 into 2 is 1000. The tachometer does not know this. So it's assuming that it's connected to a 4-stroke engine, and as it has fired 1000 times, it is assuming that the engine is running at 2000 RPM. So it shows 2000 RPM. So even when the crankshaft is actually rotating at 1000 RPM only, the readings show 2000 RPM. So this is why when you hook up an electronic 4-stroke tachometer to a 2-stroke engine, it is bound to show twice the readings. Just like most passionate newbies who believes nothing is impossible, I am no different. So I am confident enough I'll be able to find a solution for the tachometer's inaccuracy. So I went ahead and started to remove the old stock console setup, kept everything safely, removed the base plate. Then I brought over the new console, kept it, and few more challenges raised. So upon first try, as you guys can see, this is how it kind of looks from the pilot side. Also tried installing the Speedo cable to this stock setup, and fortunately it went all the way in, and I'm hoping that it works when we start the vehicle and run after finishing the fitment. So that's how it kind of looks, and as you can see, we already have a few challenges over here. So this is our mounting point compared to what the stock setup had. This is how it would look from the top. Alright, so this one goes below the top T. So this is called your T plate, your top T, and this is your bottom T. But anyways, on the top T, there is a hole here. This is on the left side of the bike. Right side also you have a hole. That is for installing this stock speedometer plate. But yeah, that hole is not going to work here because of the radical difference in mounting point design, which is up top instead of at the bottom for this one. So we have to sort out a way for that. So as you guys saw, the mounting points on this Crux R meters base plate and the mounting points of the stock T that's provided by the factory is entirely different, and I need to figure out a way on how to do that. So that's our second challenge. The next obvious challenge is wiring. So the lights are similar. As you guys can see, you have the right indicator, the high beam, the neutral light, and the left indicator. and also the Speedo illumination. We also have a tacho illumination here. We don't have a separate wiring for the tachometer illumination light when riding at the night. We'll have to hot wire both of them as one connection. So that is also a little bit of a jugaad job. That's also going to be done. Also, not to forget the fact that I need to find a way to properly connect the tachometer to the bike's electrical system. What I've done now is a direct connection just for temporary checking purpose, and it is not recommended to keep it this way for a long time. Why? Here is why. Because if you connect the tachometer directly and keep it like that, even if you are not using the bike, even if the ignition is turned off, the tachometer is always going to drink some juice from the battery. What happens next? You can have a fully charged battery, but because this tachometer has been drinking so much juice, the battery just dies. And along with the battery, it also affects your RR unit, your rectifier regulator unit. You can see a picture right here. The main job of your RR unit is to make sure that the battery gets charged up when the engine is running. Another job of the RR unit is to make sure that the battery just doesn't drain itself when the bike is not being used for a long time. It will help the battery to retain its charge as much as it can. So when you hook something up directly to the battery, and when that is always going to drink some charge, and as the tachometer is drinking all this juice, when the RR unit is struggling to maintain the battery, the RR unit will get damaged because of this. How do I know? I killed 2 of them. So these are simply the first set of challenges that I faced even when trying to set something up initially. So in part 2 of the series, which is coming very soon, I'll actually start the work on trying to overcome these challenges that I've mentioned in this video and setting everything up so that the installation of the new console would be a breeze. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys truly enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave a like below. Please do comment down your video suggestions and video requests. I shall put in my best efforts to get it done for you guys. Do consider subscribing to my channel for more such 2-stroke content. Keep the blue smoke alive. Bratty Biker signing off. Have a wonderful day.